This is where we had a problem last time. There it goes. We're ready to go.
I thought we were the protectors of truth. Democrats, Republicans, you all lie. We, a small band of survivors, are on our way to the Steel City to find the resistance. Join us.
Welcome to the Steel City Resistance with Senior Airman Ward Miller and the ironclad voice of Pittsburgh, Hutch Jr., laying down verbal C4 to blow away the lies and the political tomfoolery. Your papers have been cleared. Welcome to the Steel City Resistance.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Steel City Resistance. My name is Hutch Jr., and I am located deep, deep down in Bunker.
And I'm Ward Miller, also in the city of Pittsburgh, here for a special Saturday night show. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on, big election. We got lots of stuff to talk about, so we just got to get it on.
Yeah, we do. This is an historic time in our country, and there's basically for this show we're gonna basically cover numerous aspects of three topics. I mean, we're gonna cover Benghazi, which is probably it's vying for the top spot. There's three areas that are just just very important, and Benghazi is one of them. Hurricane Sandy is another that I don't think is being adequately covered by the mainstream media. And the election. You look at the mainstream media, and you don't get a picture of what's going on. I mean, there's just some mayhem going on out there that's it just boggles the mind. I think Glenn Beck summed it up best, Ward, when he said that you look at your country and you can't recognize it anymore.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. The stuff that's going on between the Fast and Furious and Benghazi Gate, and and even the stuff that's happening after Sandy. There's a lot of stuff that's not being reported. For example, FEMA ran out of water.
Yeah, they did. I mean, the whole idea of the federal government and big government in general, if you look around, it's just being rebuked everywhere. I mean, it's not it doesn't work. It never has worked, and Katrina showed it first, and now Hurricane Sandy. We have some stories that we're gonna, and I have intimate knowledge that I'm not going to really get into, but there's this big bureaucracy is it's not set up. We got to start. If you don't take anything else away from tonight's show, please, ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. Don't count on the government. Do not count on the government to be your saving grace. You have to be your own saving grace and your neighbor's saving grace.
Yeah, and that's what's scary is everybody thinks that the government's going to be the one that rolls in and helps you and saves everybody, and et cetera, et cetera. And we seen, after Katrina, and I don't blame what happened with Katrina on the government. A lot of the problems that the government had during Katrina was based on, the fact that the governor didn't ask for federal assistance. So, Posse Comitatus says they can't go in. So, Bush got a big black eye for it, but he was actually following the Constitution that says that we can't go, the federal government can't go rushing in unless the local governors request it. Now, in New Jersey, after the horrific, pounding that those people took, Chris Christie went to the government and says, yeah, come in and help us immediately. I mean, there was no hesitation, no waiting, no anything. It was the
thing about that is that in the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, they actually changed it to where the federal government can come in for disaster relief. And So now you have even more. Really, the only people that can do anything in a situation like this is the U.S. military. I mean, there's no other organization. You can't put enough FEMA people. These FEMA people are not full-time employees, most of them. I mean,
in fact, I work with a guy, and he carries a pager. And
right.
They say, okay, we got a problem, and he goes, and he was down in New Orleans for Katrina. He was, in a couple different places because of natural disasters, hurricanes, it's tornadoes, etc. But you're absolutely right. For the most part, and those guys, it takes a while to get them, soldiered up. Whereas the military, that big fire that they had in Brooklyn,
wow.
the fire trucks couldn't get to it because of the water in the streets, and they had to actually wait for the Army to show up with 17-ton trucks to take them in.
Yeah, it's something that you need to take care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this and understand that the government can't be everywhere at one time, and they're going to tell you they can be. But the whole photo op thing and the Chris Christie thing, and it just it sickens me, really. It does.
Well, basically that's what it was. It was Obama spiking the football, taking a victory lap because Republican Governor Chris Christie needed the federal government's help, and that's why it became the photo op and all that other stuff, and that in itself is disgusting. The fact that he actually made Christie, have the photo op with him just so that he could rub the Republicans' nose in the fact that, he was the one that had to come in and save them.
That's exactly what happened, and then he immediately left, and there wasn't anybody in Staten Island for days. They're just showing up now. I mean, they left those people out there. I mean, it's just something. And then they were gonna run a damn marathon.
Well, yeah, they were going to do the New York Marathon. I don't know if they canceled that or not.
Yeah, they canceled it. He finally caved in yesterday. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it only made sense. You got all these volunteers for the marathon running around.
People that are freezing. They're freezing cold. They don't have any heat. They don't have any. I mean, the shelter that they do have, the ones that were able to reclaim their second floors and things like that. Can you imagine the stench, for one? And everything's damp and cold, and they're miserable. They don't have any electric. If they would have run that marathon, people would have got killed. I'm telling you right now, they'd have bum rushed everything, and I wouldn't have.
Well, the other thing is too, and we had a picture on the on Facebook, on our Facebook page, of a pair of generators that could be used to actually help people.
Yeah.
They were going to be used for the tents at the marathon.
And they had to have a big guy freaking guarding them. I mean,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Anyway, so and the other component of that story is the press. I mean, I don't see where the press thinks that they're going to get out of this okay. I mean, with all these stories, there's just no way. I mean, this is all going to be over, and then it's going to be time to start doing an after-action review on how the press operated, and I don't think they're going to do that well when that happens.
No, I don't either. I think it's going to be it's a debacle. I mean, all the way around, and it's one of them cases where Mother Nature decides what's going to happen, and the best laid plans of mice and men, or whatever, however the saying goes, is. That's what it is. It is what it is. And when you have a storm, just the sheer size of Sandy sitting there, off the coast. I mean, it didn't even make landfall yet, and it was just kicking the hell out of New Jersey. I mean, and some of the pictures, like the pictures from Staten Island, and there's almost an entire roller coaster in the ocean.
Yeah, Coney Island. I mean, just landmarks. And I saw a good. It's going to sound heartless, but John Stossel did a report on this, and he basically said that the government ought to stop insuring this stuff, because if the government didn't insure it, and you wanted to take a risk and live right next to a water body like that, then the insurance companies would adjust that with your premium, and there wouldn't be as much build up in these areas that are so vulnerable for when global warming takes its toll, because that's the other meme that they're using.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They came out and you know, of course, immediately all the Dems are going, oh, you see, we just proved it's global warming. Global warming causes these hurricanes, and global warming causes all these tornadoes, except for the fact that there was a report out that the ice caps, which is supposed to be an indicator of global warming, actually put an extra 5 feet on. So when you talk about 5 feet of ice on the polar ice caps, that's not really global warming, folks. You know, somebody took a picture of a polar bear on a you know, piece of a glacier that broke off. Glaciers break up all the time. It has absolutely nothing to do with global warming. It has to do with they're big hunks of ice in the middle of salt water, and shit happens.
I know. And I mean, climate does change, and it's a good thing, or we'd still be in the ice. But yeah, that's just the on Benghazi and on the elections and on everything. The press is just so bad. I mean, if it wasn't for Fox News is smart. Fox News is making some money. You know, when it comes down to it, you look at the numbers, and there's just no comparison. I mean, I saw a report. As a matter of fact, I might have put it on Facebook, and I might have put it on the webpage. There's a lot of good stuff on Facebook and on the website. We made some inroads with some people that are spreading the word a little bit, so that's always good. But yeah, the press is just, they think that there's not going to be a report card at the end of this, and I submit that there will be. But I don't think that they can get through this, especially Benghazi, because the thing about Benghazi, Ward, is that regardless, even if President Obama would not get fired, even if he would get reelected, this is not going to go away. This is going to go. I would think that this is going to go all the way to a trial. I don't see how it doesn't. He's going to get impeached regardless. These are very, very serious crimes. Hillary Clinton's head should roll. I mean, there's no way. All these people that are involved, I have in my show notes. I'm going to jump to it right now. It's at the end. But Obama has turned everybody into liars. Everybody.
I don't know how much of it he turned into liars. He may have put a spotlight on the fact.
He's taken them to a new level of lying. Let's put it that way. A new level of looking at people like us like we're stupid. I mean, you and I had this figured out. We've been reporting on this for months.
Yeah.
You know, we figured this out right at the beginning. The same with Fast and Furious. And I'm not a genius. You know what I mean? This is just in-your-face stuff. You know, and I think that there's a brutal payback to that.
I concur. I'm with you 100%. I'm just waiting to see how it shakes out because, you know, the thing is, if you look, you know, historically, back in the day when, you know, with Watergate, if that had been a Democrat as the president, would that have been as big a story? I don't know. You know, they tried to make the whole Monica Lewinsky thing a non-story with Clinton, and between Matt Drudge, you know, drumming it up, and, you know, Clinton perjuring himself. You know, a lot of people don't realize Clinton was impeached.
And he lost his law license. He lost his law license in his home state.
Yeah, but he was impeached
man.
for he perjured himself in front of Congress. That's exactly what Eric Holder's done, and why hasn't there been an outcry? Why hasn't there been any kind of punitive damages done to him? Because he perjured himself in front of Congress, which means he went in front of Congress, lied, came back and told a different lie, and you know, the two stories don't add up.
And you'd think that the thing that gets me is how politically stupid these people are. I mean, I'm not even talking about the policies. I'm talking about they could have got themselves out of a lot of trouble if they'd have fired Eric Holder. You know, but they don't. They're like politically stupid. And Valerie Jarrett was the one coaching him in his ear. There's no doubt in my mind she's pulling the puppet strings. And she's the one that decided it was brilliant to go forward with this Benghazi cover-up when there's dead bodies laying everywhere. I mean, she's nuts.
Well, I don't know if it's nuts or if it's just simple arrogance. You know?
I think that is what it is. She holds us in contempt, and she thinks that it doesn't matter what they do. They're taking over the country, and
Well, they can do whatever they want because you don't have anybody holding them to account. The media's not going to do it.
Unreal.
You know, that was I wrote a story today and I put it up on our website because I was sitting thinking about it. You know, had all of this stuff that's occurring now in Benghazi and, you know, with Sandy and all this other stuff, Fast and Furious, you know, had that happened 20 years ago, before before we had the internet, before we had social media, before we had, you know, insert application here, before we had any of that stuff, we would have been as blind as anybody else because we would only be able to get our news from the mainstream media.
It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what else has been covered up over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Because now, you know, between Facebook, you know, and you can go on Facebook and see, you know, kind of what's going on. And then you have Twitter, which is basically the internet's nervous system. And anything that happens anywhere in the world, you know about it instantaneously.
Exactly. And it's, I mean, it's to the point now where, and I used to be an avid evening news watcher, and I haven't watched the evening news for years. When I go to get my news, and I'm a news junkie, I want to stay on top of everything. I have people coming to me asking me what's going on. And my first stop, actually, if you look at my favorites, I have to have 2 favorites for news because there's too many of them. And I think CNN's on one of them just so I can check and see what the enemy's talking about. But I don't even follow NBC, ABC, MSNBC, or any of that unless I'm trying. I mean, I have to actually type it in because I don't have a bookmark anywhere.
Well, to be honest with you, MSNBC got started as a partnership between Microsoft and NBC. And
Microsoft scuttled them.
Well, I think that's what happened. Microsoft finally realized, you know, that they were just another left-wing part of the
Democrat Party. I mean, they are a part and parcel. All 4 of them. I mean, the thing is.
Well, in fact, if you type in MSNBC.com, it changes the URL to NBCnews.com. Well, it does.
I'll tell you, I mean, it's a shame.
Folks out there, try it because Microsoft wanted out of it because, you know, basically it's besmirching their name.
And it's not even like Fox News, like I said last week. Fox News has a couple real news shows that are not opinionated. And at the end of Special Report with Brett Baer, you have a round table that there's always at least one liberal on it. And I feel sorry for the sucker because but anyway, he comes on there. MSNBC is straight stupid Matthews type programming 24 hours a day or however long all their serious shows. I don't watch the network.
They really don't have serious shows.
But there's nothing that's objective on there.
No, it's all very left wing, and Chris Matthews is nothing more than a mouthpiece for the Obama administration.
Oh, he's disgusting.
Plain and simple, you know, and he gets all wound up, you know, and it's just ridiculous.
I mean, I'll tell you another one too, a network that used to be good and kind of like launched the cable TV era when I was younger, when we were younger. HBO used to be a pretty good station for entertainment, but that Bill Maher, I don't know if you caught a couple of things that he said these last couple of days, Ward, but he said that the black voters know who you white people are, and they're going to come get you. Something to that effect. And the other thing he said was this election is the last hurrah for the whites.
Who gave him, what my question is, who gave him permission to speak for the new Black Panthers? Because, I mean, really, that's what they've been saying all along. Who gives a damn?
And a lot of white liberals are the ones that are saying that they're going to riot. And what they ought to worry about is, I don't care if they want to riot. Let them riot. Go ahead and do what you got to do. You better just hope that the majority of Americans, like the Tea Party, that we never riot. Because if that ever happens, you're going to see what a riot is. You know, and I'm not saying that we are, but I'm saying, you know, we're kicking back. We don't have time for that. We're trying to work. But if it would ever get to the point like a stolen election or something like that we would be in that situation, run.
I really don't see that happening.
I don't either. I'm just saying the numbers, you know, they're saying this riot thing like I'm not scared. You know, like I'm afraid of it. If you want to riot, go ahead. I'll protect my area. I Garamos Toya. You know?
Wow.
But anyway, The GOP headquarters in Squirrel Hill was vandalized again.
Yeah, it's one of them cases where, you know, when the Democrats don't have anything constructive to say and they can't argue their point, and because they have no talking points other than it's Bush's fault or somebody else did it, or
I'd like them to catch
time.
I'd like them to catch the guy and talk to him, and I'll bet he doesn't even know what he's doing. I bet he doesn't have a clue. I was talking on Facebook a couple nights ago, and you know, I try to stay out of those things. I do. I really try not to. I got some liberal friends, and I look at the comments, and most of the time I stay out of them. But every now and then one gets me, like Bill Peduto got me the other day, and I had to start firing on that one. And this other woman had this thing on there, and she was arguing. They were all talking about how bad Mitt Romney was. So I had to get on the stream and say, women's health care is over in 4 days. You know, just throw a dig in there. And the one woman came back to me, and I swear to God, Ward, she was arguing with me that Mitt Romney was so bad because he tied his dog onto the roof of his car and he held some kid down and gave him a haircut. That was the argument, and I was stunned. I was like, yeah, you should not be allowed to vote.
Except that, you know, when Romney did that, yeah, he bullied somebody in high school. When Romney was in high school, was in the 50s.
I mean, who
people
cares?
with short hair were standard. So if somebody had extra long hair, they were the freak. So yeah, he bullied somebody in high school. So you're going to hold something that somebody did 50 years ago.
It's something. I mean, but that's your argument. Even if he did it, even if he slapped the kid and punched the kid in the mouth, who cares?
Here's the thing: we don't know what the hell Obama did.
But
we can't even prove he went to fucking high school.
But my point was that this is the depth of the argument on that side. It's like you don't have any desire to go in a little deeper and try to figure out what's going on. Well, I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, last week I forgot to bring up that Steel City Resistance was represented at Carnegie Mellon University. We went and saw former ambassador and brilliant guy and good speaker, John Bolton. We went with Joshua Wander. Well, we met Joshua Wander there, and I went with Eric, a neighbor of mine, and it was a really good time. I was expecting to see the Muslim Brotherhood, but they must not have a...
they don't have a Carnegie Mellon chapter?
They must not. But
that's shocking.
It is. I was really expecting to see him. I mean, I was on alert looking for him, and the place was packed. I mean, you had to have tickets, so maybe they screened them. I don't know, but whatever it was, it worked out. I was thinking about something the other day. I was listening to Mark Stein. I was reading an article by Mark Stein, and he was talking about that we should have buried all the power lines. We got nothing from that stimulus. That massive amount of money, and there's nothing that you can point at and say, well, at least we got this. You know?
Well, you know why? Because the major amount of the stimulus money went to the places that Obama needed the campaign in.
I know.
So Ohio may have gotten quite a bit, and Florida may have gotten quite
Solyndra.
a bit. Yeah, and Solyndra, and you know,
all those 100 companies that failed.
Yeah,
but there's nothing
the thing
good.
Is, here in Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania has always been blue, so there's absolutely no reason for them to spend money here because they don't need to buy us because everybody's going to part and parcel just go in and pull the big D.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to buy us off.
Yeah, it's something. That's so much money and nothing to show for it.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the biggest part of what happens, especially, you know, for the folks that aren't from, you know, Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh or whatever, that are listening to the show, you know, 9 times out of 10, when we have a bad snowstorm or we have a great windstorm like Sandy was, power lines go down. And Hutch is 100% right. Why didn't we get some stimulus money or put it in our budget and start moving the power lines underground?
Yeah.
You know, because
this is getting
in
old.
the long run, you know, in the long run, that ends up saving everybody money.
Oh yeah, it's like for a little windstorm. I mean, now New Jersey and New York got their asses kicked. But
that was a real time windstorm.
But there was power out in like 7-8 states, if not more. You know,
and well, there was power out in Pennsylvania. I have a friend of mine who lives out by the airport, and they lost power. In fact, it's our friend Bill who was on the show many, many moons ago,
Okay.
when we first started. He lost power the same night Sandy hit. And so, he had lost it for like 4 or 5, 5 or 6 hours or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But, the crews around here were able to respond because there was only 1 or 2, but had that been like when we had that big, what do they call it, Snowmageddon or whatever?
Yeah. Now
it would have.
Tom's, not to change the subject, but moving along, it looks like Tom Smith has a chance to beat Casey. That would be really nice. Although Casey's a pretty docile. I mean, he's not real dangerous except when he votes. But
the thing is too, though. I mean, I think that a lot of Obama's coal policies are rubbing off on Casey, and that's where Casey's having problems, is because Pennsylvania has coal mines
and he's
whatnot.
up there. They're up there touting his coal routes and everything like that, and he's behind Obama 100%. I mean, it's that whole thing it's going to cave in on him, if you want to use a coal metaphor. But ladies and gentlemen, your weekly Jihad report from October 27th to October 31st. Let's see here. 31 Jihad attacks. Only 1 Allahu Akbar. 148 dead bodies, and they're up in the ante a little bit with 401 critically injured. Weekly Jihad report, one body at a time, ladies and gentlemen.
And you do realize that's only 5 days.
It's horrible, man. I mean, it's we bring it add them up. Think if you added all the ones up that we've brought to bear. The thing is that this is getting a little hairy with the Benghazi. We're going to start right away because there's 2 casualties right off the bat that
well, other than the 4 real casualties.
Right, yeah. I'm talking about collateral damage here. And the thing is that they started at the Navy, Ward.
Yeah, Rear Admiral, and we talked about this last week, that I thought that there was an admiral that was also implicated, and we went back and forth, and we figured that maybe my information was wrong. Well, apparently it wasn't. And it's Rear Admiral Charles, oh, Christ. Even when I don't get...
Gaouette.
Okay.
Some French name.
Yeah, but he was the commander of the Carrier Strike Group 3, CSG-3, that was in the Middle East. And apparently he was going to do the same thing that General Ham was going to do. Once a embassy calls for help and says, we're under attack, and we talked about this last week, the wheels go into motion, and immediately, Carrier Strike Group 3 was alerted. The commander of AFCOM, who is General Carter Ham, was alerted, and they immediately started to get the wheels in motion because they couldn't imagine anybody telling them to stand down and not rescue the ambassador or Americans. And once they got the stand down order, both of these guys, General Ham and Rear Admiral Gaouette, said, to hell with it, we're going to get our guys out. Because there's one thing that gets, whether you want to believe it or not, when you're in the military, that's drummed into you. You don't leave somebody behind. And they were going in, whether it was to rescue them or whether it was to reclaim the bodies, they were going to bring them back.
Absolutely. And they went in. I mean, it's Alan West said it pretty well. I don't know if I got this up on the website yet or not, but he was interviewed by Glenn Beck, and he said, leadership, you go to the sound of the guns. That's where you go, and that's what these professionals were doing. They were going to the sound of the guns. They were not going to be told by some civilian. And I mean, you have to have civilian leadership of the military, but an order has to be a lawful order. And the thing about it is that really sickened me is how quickly General Ham's second in command arrested him. I mean, or relieved him of command. I mean, that stunk like a rat to me. Now, to be fair, to be honest in all this, because we did a little bit of research, General Ham was planning to get out anyway. General Ham's wife is terminally ill, and he has been talking about getting out. But this, I don't think he wanted to get out this way. The next day he was retired, and
Yeah.
I just think that's shady.
That's entirely too shady. You know, September 11th, this happens. He gets relieved of his command by General Rodriguez. Rodriguez says, "Okay, I've assumed command," and then right after that, on September 12th, he's retired.
Yeah,
there's nobody that doesn't. I mean that's just entirely too shady for me to buy.
It is. It's not working a whole lot. Now, let's talk about Benghazi a little bit more in depth. We're going to play an audio clip from a radio show, and I should be a little bit better prepared and have my credits here, but I don't, so we're just going to listen to it. You can check it out on the show notes links page, the actual video of this audio. I'm not going to give you the video because all it is just a still. But let's listen to this conversation. It's about 10 minutes long, ladies and gentlemen, and it really lays out the timeline and the different implications for this and what some people think is going to happen. So let me get this queued up and try this and see how this works here, and we'll see if we have the technology.
Carl, Benghazi Gate is slowly becoming like Watergate. It is a cancer on the presidency. It is spreading. It is dragging down the president's men. It is engulfing the White House, and it will eventually, I believe, devour Obama himself. What we have now found out, the absolute latest news, is that CIA operatives have now confirmed that they were told by the administration to hold back and not come to the rescue of Ambassador Chris Stevens or the other 3 U.S. officials that were butchered in Benghazi on September 11th.
And this stuff was happening in real time, wasn't it,
In
Jeff?
real time. This is Carl, this is what is now remarkable. Here's what we're finding out now, Carl. And this is now thoroughly corroborated, thoroughly documented. This is why I believe Obama's days are numbered. It doesn't matter whether he wins or loses the presidency. We now know that the consulate in Benghazi was attacked in April of this year. It was attacked again in June of this year. In fact, the attack in June was so ferocious, it blew a hole through the wall defending the compound. We know now that the British consulate and the British ambassador thought the situation was so dangerous, so frightening, that they pulled out. The Red Cross said the same thing and shut down their operations in Benghazi. We now know through emails and multiple cables that Ambassador Chris Stevens repeatedly told the State Department and the administration that he feared for his life, that he feared for those of his staff members and colleagues, that they needed more enhanced security, that the jihadists were roaming the streets of Benghazi. For months, they didn't ask, they begged for more security, every time request denied. Now we have found out, under oath, State Department officials have testified that there were cameras in the compound which were viewing the compound in real time. They were looking at it all day. There was not one protest. Never did they see a protester. It had the Muslim video had nothing to do with anything. It was complete silence in front of the consulate.
In other words, that was just a big old fat lie.
That was a complete lie. It was a Hollywood manufactured fiction. It was Star Wars.
Wow.
They gave us Star Wars. At 10 o'clock Benghazi time, 4 o'clock our time, the cameras saw 20 armed men storm the compound with AK-47s and mortars. They saw on real time them shooting up the place and targeting our officials. At 6:07 p.m. our time, midnight Benghazi time, our CIA people on the ground sent an email back to the administration, to the FBI, to the CIA, to the Director of National Intelligence, but most importantly, to the White House Situation Room, the President's command post, to 2 of his men in his inner circle, saying that Ansar al-Sharia has claimed responsibility and they are behind this attack. Our CIA station chief in Libya, within 24 hours, said that the Al-Qaeda affiliated group was behind the attack.
Right.
Now, here is where I think the story gets very interesting.
Hey, stop. Hey, Jeff, before you go any further, you've got to hear this. I know you're probably upset that I'm breaking in, but this goes to directly what you're saying. Breaking news on Drudge right now. Petraeus throws Obama under the bus. Do you know what he said?
This is a couple days old, ladies and
It's on
gentlemen.
Drudge. It says, General Petraeus, or David Petraeus, the CIA director, this is what he's just released. Drudge just put, it just refreshed in front of my face. Quote, no one at any level in the CIA told anybody not to help those in need. Claims to the contrary are simply inaccurate.
Oh, yeah. The CIA has been telling that to journalists here in Washington all day.
So who was it that said, don't send military assets? It can only go one step higher than that.
Exactly. We had a drone over the compound. Now, we know this the whole time, taking photos, videotaping surveillance, and sending it back to Washington. We also now know that we had AC-130 gunships,
right,
fighter jets.
Right.
Our military personnel were 1 hour away.
Right.
The people on the ground begged for military backup.
For hours.
Our CIA officers begged for military backup, and the president did nothing.
What's with Leon Panetta telling everyone that he didn't know enough to deploy any troops? What's up with that, man? He's lying.
He's
lying.
He's protecting the president, and in fact, we know that. And so the question now is this: why did Obama not send in reinforcements? Remember, this attack took place over 6 hours. We could have saved our men.
Yeah.
In other words, the president left our people twisting in the wind, vulnerable, exposed. He sacrificed them like sheep to these Islamist butchers because he didn't want to come to their aid. And the reason he gave at the time, and I know this for a fact, and that's why I pointed out in my column today, was he told high-ranking senior officials around him, his defense counsel, that he needed, quote, the permission of the government in Tripoli to, quote, violate Libya's sovereignty. So basically, he didn't want to violate Libya's sovereignty. He was more concerned with what the Libyan government would think,
and there is
with what the United Nations would think, with what the Arab League would think, rather than coming to the rescue of our ambassador and our officials who were then being besieged.
Yeah, and there really is no Libyan government, at this point. There really isn't.
It's a joke. It's a shadow government. It's a joke of a government. Libya is a failed state. But, Carl, this goes to the heart of the matter. The President of the United States didn't just turn a blind eye. The President of the United States didn't just engage in a systematic cover-up to lie and deceive the American people on what happened. He did now one step more. He deliberately denied assistance to our people who could have been saved. Yeah. He committed treason.
Yes, thank you.
He violated his constitutional oath to defend Americans from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Thank you. That's the word that I've been using. Listen, if he loses the election...
That is what it is.
Are we still going to pursue this? It's treasonous.
Carla, my wife has asked me this. She said, well, if he loses, is the Libya thing over? I said, it's not.
It can't be.
Even if he loses, he must be impeached. This is a criminal action. What he did was criminal. It was criminal in many areas. It was negligence. It was a betrayal of his oath of office. He deliberately lied to the American people. He politicized the intelligence and the intelligence community. What he did to me, if this is not a high crime and misdemeanor, if the President of the United States is aware of a terrorist attack, does nothing to defend our compound, and then goes on to lie about the terrorist attack not being a terrorist attack, if that's not a high crime and misdemeanor, then nothing is.
I know.
You might as well just become a dictatorship.
I know. Listen, is there anything to the some little snippet rumor reports that I've been seeing today and I think late last night that Hillary Clinton was getting ready to out Obama and release some documents and that Bill was urging her to do so? I've seen some reports on that. Is there anything to that?
The rumor in Washington, I don't like to go on rumors. I like to confirm things. But what people in Washington are saying is, remember there was a big leak last week where the State Department said, you know what, they knew.
Right.
And they leaked that email about at 6 o'clock Eastern time, 2 hours after the attack, where it said, no, Ansar al-Sharia took credit. The rumor is that Hillary's people were behind that, because he essentially threw Hillary under the bus, and he threw the State Department under the bus, saying, you know what, my intelligence community, my State Department failed me. They never gave me the information that I needed.
Right.
Well, a lot of people in the CIA and a lot of people in the State Department are saying, you're not going to scapegoat us.
Right.
You're not going to make us the scapegoat for this, Mr. President.
Right.
You knew, you covered it up, and more than that, you did nothing. You refused to lift a finger that could have saved our people on the ground. Chris Stevens could be alive today.
Right.
Everybody could have been alive today had this man acted. And instead, like Nero, like Caligula, he's more interested in his political fundraiser the next day. He's more interested in stuffing his face at the Vegas buffet table. Right. He's more interested in playing the blackjack tables than he is in defending our people who are now under attack. To me, he has to be prosecuted. He has to be impeached. I think he should be tried.
Yeah.
I honestly, Carl, I think this thing should go to court, and he needs to serve time in prison for this.
Listen, there's Fast and Furious Gate, there's Benghazi Gate, there's the Libya War Gate, there's the Arab Spring Gate, there's the Muslim Brotherhood Gate, there's the identifying documents sealed gate. I mean, one travesty after another. At the very least, he needs to be investigated and tried for this. It's unbelievable. Jeff, look, we've got to take a time out, and then when we come back, you and I will go at this some more, okay?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, especially on the YouTube, Google Hangout, we're this little technical tidbit here. We're experimenting with the Google Hangout and YouTube and things like that, and I was not prepared to put any type of graphics up on the screen during the Hangout, so I apologize for you having to watch me and Ward through that entire 10-minute audio clip, but we will fix that in the future, and if we didn't try it, we'd never learn, Ward, so we had to give it a shot.
Yeah, and that was really important. That entire thing was very important as to, you know, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, was, you know, the internet and actually gives us the ability to find out more that's going on, other than just relying on the mainstream media, because if we did, we'd never know any of this stuff.
That's true.
You know, that's what's hugely important. And you have shows like ours who come out and say, you know what, we're going to tell you the truth, and we're going to tell you whether we like it or not, whether, you know, it's going to give the GOP a black eye. I don't care.
Right.
But we're going to tell the truth. And these other, you know, the mainstream media feels as though that they have the power, and they think that they can control, you know, what happens in this world. Now, what happens, my question is, what happens if Obama gets, if he does get reelected, if something insane happens, you know, whether it's voter fraud or whatever the case, he gets reelected. You know what happens when Benghazi Gate actually comes out and he gets impeached? You know what you have to thank yourselves for, folks? The people that voted for Obama, you know what you have to thank yourself for? President Joe Biden. And that should scare the absolute hell out of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't see how, and we got some people in the chat room, and they don't want to see an impeachment, and I don't really want to see an impeachment either. But you have a situation where really serious crimes have been committed, and you almost lose the whole law and order thing if you don't do anything about it. I mean, it's I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. It would definitely be harmful for the country. There's no question about that. One of the other things that we do here on the show is post the show notes links page. If you go to the associated story, there's a link for the video / audio, but there's also a pretty detailed timeline that you may want to look at. I mean, there are some people out there that I communicate with that really don't believe that this happened or that there's anything wrong. And it's just, it's bizarre. But going towards our philosophy on the show, calling a pig since 2010, gay GOP campaign volunteer recants alleged hate crime attack story. Now, I don't know if you followed that, but there was a guy that was claiming that oh, sorry about that, scared me. There was a guy that was claiming that he was beat up just because he was gay at an event, and that the guy kidney punched him and this, that, and the other thing. However, on Monday, his story to police was apparently radically different. An incident report that was updated to reflect Woods, that's a guy's name, most recent statements about the matter reads, in an interview this afternoon with Madison police detectives, the victim in this case recanted his earlier statements in regards to this crime. The crime was alleged to have occurred on High Street in the South Police District, will be cleared as unfounded for case reporting purposes once follow-up investigation is completed. Anyway, the guy was full of shit, and I just can't stand that. I hate it with Republicans as much as anybody else. I mean, it looked like a vile story, and it had me a little ticked off, and then when it was recanted, I mean, you know, you can't do stuff like that.
No, you're absolutely right. That's just ridiculous, and you make yourself look really stupid.
And you make me look stupid. You know, you make me look like I'm a I don't know, trying to bait gay bashers or something like that. You know, it's we don't need to do that. If you're in the GOP, you're conservative, you're a Tea Party member or thinker, the truth is on our side. We don't need these shenanigans.
No, because all that does is give it a bad name, so that whenever somebody does actually get, you know, harassed or beat up, it's not, oh, they're just calling, you know, crying wolf again, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the other things that I definitely wanted to bring up, you know, and we kind of got away from it, and I was sitting here thinking, you know, while I was listening to the clip that Hutch played, and there was a story that I had read, and, you know, it's a conspiracy theory. So I want to put it out there. You know, there's no way of proving it, but think about it and think whether or not you think that this is plausible. And it goes something like this. In fact, I think I heard it on Jim Quinn or in the War Room or whatever.
That's a local radio show, ladies and gentlemen, in the Pittsburgh area. That's pretty big.
Yeah, but he, you know, he does do a lot of conspiracy theory type stuff, but it does kind of make sense when you hear about it. And here's how the conspiracy theory goes: that Ambassador Stevens ends up getting captured by these Al-Qaeda members. And Obama, and this was Obama's October surprise that he was planning.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Stevens gets kidnapped. Obama goes and negotiates with the Egyptians to get him back, and in return for getting Senator Stevens back, they give the blind sheik back to Egypt. Now, that is a conspiracy theory, but when you start looking at all the things, it kind of makes sense. You know, the fact that they removed basically all the security from that guy. You know, I keep wanting to say Kevin Stevens. He was a hockey player here in Pittsburgh, but it was Ambassador Stevens. They kept removing all his security to the point where he had a few like body men, but the primary security force for him was the local Libyan army. The
17th of October, Libyan Rockstars or something.
Yeah, whatever. And it's nuts. And so when you start putting that together and you say, hey, that kind of makes sense. I'm not saying that that's what it is. And trust me, believe me when I say this, I honestly hope that wouldn't be true, that the President of the United States would allow a foreign...
I don't think there's any question that he has the capability. I don't think he likes his country. I honestly don't. I think he hates this country. I do. I believe that. I don't believe a word that comes out of this guy's mouth. And he could clearly do that. I've heard that Stevens was running guns into Syria. I mean, it'll all come out.
Yeah, eventually it will. You know, and apparently this administration has absolutely no problem with running guns.
None. They're very good at it, unless it's the citizens' guns. Then they have a problem. They have a problem if it's the citizens' guns. But let's move on. We got to get to a couple other things here, and we're going to have to rip through them pretty quick, Ward. We've done it again. Some of these things, though, are just unbelievable. Down in New Jersey, these people are dying without power. They don't have any electric, and whenever that happens, the power companies are like a fraternity. I mean, once that happens, all states send different crews to the affected area, and I guess a crew from Alabama, and then I heard later today a crew from Georgia got up to New Jersey, and the first thing the power people wanted to see was the union papers. Can you believe that?
Can I believe it? Yeah. I mean, I really can. You know, it's a twisted mentality. You know, I was living in South Carolina when Hurricane Hugo hit, and I thank God for all the people from out of state that came in to help, you know, cut down trees, rerun power, do all that stuff, and nobody looked for their pay, you know, to see if they were a union member. Well, South Carolina's a right to work state. If you show up and you got the tools, get it on. You know, and the fact, I hate to say that I can honestly believe it, but I do. I've seen reports that said, yeah, that really didn't happen, but you know, this is being reported on news stations in New Jersey.
And more than once. I mean, there was more than one occurrence. Yeah. The guys from Georgia got back in the truck and went home. Yeah. They said, kiss my ass, man, I'm out. I got a life down there. I'm up here trying to help you, dumbass. I don't see how the community doesn't get freaking furious over that.
I really see. Well, what happens is, and I saw this when I was in the middle of Hurricane Hugo. At first, you're just in a state of shock. You don't really, you know, everything's just. It's like everything's in fast motion, you know, and you're just trying to get your head on and go, okay, what do I need, you know? Okay, I need ice. I need water. I need, you know, and then. As it goes further and further, you go, you know what? We need gas because we have a generator. Okay, but there's no gas, so people are siphoning gas. They're stealing gas. They're waiting in line for 6 hours to get $10 worth of gas, and just to power their generators so that they don't lose any food that they have in their refrigerators or what have you.
And now the Army is bringing in fuel tankers, 5,000-gallon fuel tankers, and they're going to give gas away. 10 gallons a pop. They're fueling up the emergency vehicles first, and then the citizens after that. So that's just amazing right there. I mean, this infrastructure is so deteriorated so quickly and for so long that's what they're going to have to do. And I mean, it's getting to the point in Brooklyn and in other neighborhoods, Coney Island, and in different areas that the folks that are in these houses, they say at night it just turns into to mayhem, to anarchy on the streets, and they're all arming themselves as anybody would with all kinds of different things. I mean, with baseball bats, and in one case, a guy had a bow and arrow, and they're like barricading themselves in their homes because it's getting that bad. I mean, because a certain element of the population are ex-cons types like that when there's no security, they run amok.
Well, I mean, you look at what happened. I mean, this isn't the first time, and looters are experienced. And what they do is when they see a situation where the police force isn't around because they're actually, out trying to save people and get people out of flood areas and et cetera, et cetera. And so they take advantage of that fact. I mean, we saw it in Katrina. We saw guys, running through, waist-deep water, carrying 42-inch plasma TVs.
Unbelievable, the things that people hold valuable.
Yeah. And it's like, and I seen one that this guy had this like little rubber life raft just with all kinds of stuff in it. Oh, yeah. And he's like, oh, no, that's mine. Really? You have 15 pair of shoes that are still in the box.
Yeah, it's something. And God bless all you people that are affected by this. We're not trying to make light or anything like that. It's got to be horrible, and the end's coming. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do about all these homes, but I'm sure they're going to rebuild them. There's insurance adjusters out there everywhere. If you lived in an apartment, you're screwed. You got to start over. Go to church, pray a little bit, because you're going to need some strength.
The bottom line is keep your head up. I mean,
definitely.
It's nothing, that you can't get through, because I did it. and I'm speaking from experience. Hurricane Hugo hit South Carolina back in 1989 when I lived there, and it came in. It was a level 5 hurricane that just did an atrocious amount of damage, and you keep your head up and you move on. Thankfully, with Hugo, there was no fatalities. I mean, right now there's the death toll is up to 109 already in New Jersey. I think that's New Jersey and New York.
Yeah, it's both.
And that's tragic in itself. But keep your head up. There's going to be brighter days ahead.
Yeah, we sure hope so. I mean, it's something else. But I said earlier in the we got a little bit of audio problems here, but I said that the Romney campaign was not going to campaign much in Pennsylvania, and that ended up being the case. But now they must have seen some internals, because Romney's coming to Philadelphia, Ward.
Yeah, I said this all along. I think that the whole way that they do their polling isn't right, and being where we live, when Obama ran the first time in 2008, you couldn't swing a cat without hitting an Obama sign. Now you can't find one.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't get a CNI dog to find one. There isn't one to be seen, and other than the Obama headquarters.
Yeah, there's not very many. Not very many at all. Some special interest ones. I saw firefighters for Obama one. That's a union.
Yeah, that's a union thing. But I mean, for the most part, you don't see. Well, at the same time, you don't see any Romney signs. However, I don't think that the Democrats will come out and openly support Romney, because for fear of retribution from their other Democrat friends, because they're so loving and peaceful. They don't want their houses burned down, or
I've seen a lot of Romney signs. I've seen some. There's quite a few.
Yeah, I've seen more of those than I've seen. I've seen more Romney signs than I've seen
Obama. Yeah, there's very
anywhere.
few Obama signs anywhere.
Except for that nitwit that keeps writing Obama on the Romney victory sign at Squirrel Hill.
Yeah, he's a winner. Now, my favorite story of the show. You've heard of Michael Barone. He's a senior political analyst and just a very good predictor when it comes to, especially when it comes to the Electoral College, and he's gone out on a limb and said that Romney's going to win and win big. I mean, he looked at all the swing states and he broke it down, and you can look at this on the show notes links page, because he took it state by state and kind of explained why he thought that this was going to happen. And I'm going to go through a couple of them. Indiana with 11 electoral votes, uncontested Romney. North Carolina, 15 electoral votes. Obama has abandoned his target, Romney. Florida, 29 electoral votes. The biggest target state has trended Romney since Denver debate. I don't see any segment of the electorate. Romney. Ohio, 18. He actually calls that for Romney. And there's a big, long explanation after each one of these states. And it ends up giving Romney 315 electoral votes and Obama 223. And that would be a mandate, ladies and gentlemen. That would be the result that we need to start taking the steps that we need to take to get back to fiscal solvency and to get back with a little bit more of a moral compass and start putting criminals in jail.
Do you want to know why I think that Romney's going to win, and not only win big? Not looking at any of the polls, not looking at anything else. You know what makes me think that?
What's that?
The bookies in Vegas are picking Romney to win.
Or did they finally? It's about time.
Yeah.
I've been saying.
And not only did they pick him to win, they picked him to win by a landslide.
And he should. I mean, you gotta go with your gut sometimes. And
if the bookies in Vegas are picking it, put your money on it.
And ladies and gentlemen,
they don't miss.
You've heard me for years now say, we've been on for years, Ward. That's a pretty impressive statement to be able to make.
Yes, it is.
But I've said all along that I didn't believe these polls for 1 minute, and I think that's an area that has to be investigated when this is over, too. This is bullshit. I don't know if what needs to happen is that conservative groups need to start their own polling companies or something. You know, you got to fight back. The market is going to take care of the media. It already is. The New York Times is losing their ass, and so are the networks in some cases. But this whole thing, we have to stop accepting this. This is not this is, you watch on Election Day. The day on Wednesday, next Wednesday, I think that there's going to be some shenanigans going on. I mean, when you listen to the people push Romney and Obama shows up, I think there's some problems with that. I think that these voting machines have to be calibrated by, I don't know how you do it, but there has to be a better way. I don't even know if I can tell in Pennsylvania when I go vote, they use this little like a SIM card or something, and I don't know what's in it, you know. That's a little nerve-wracking. But anyway, I think it's going to be a huge margin. I don't think there's going to be any question after it's over what has occurred.
Well, you know, they were trying to say that, you know, Obama may win the popular vote, but he's not going to win the Electoral College. I don't think he wins popular vote.
I don't think he wins a goddamn thing. I really don't. But, I mean, he might win California. And he might. No,
he's going to win California. He's always going to win California. He's going to probably win Washington State, maybe Oregon, and that's about it.
And then they should be ostracized for the idiots they are. I mean, there's good people in those states too. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it just frustrates you that people would vote for this. People that I know are going to vote for this, and I'm thinking, do you understand? You look at Staten Island. That's what the whole country is going to look like.
Yeah, it really is. It's you know, it's. It just frustrates the hell out of me, you know, and I know. I can't put into words how angry it makes me.
It made us start a show.
Yeah.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming.
And we're 94 episodes in.
Yeah, thanks for letting us into your life for an hour. We appreciate it. The Google Hangout, folks, we'll get this thing straightened out one of these days. There's a lot of clicks involved there, but I kind of like it. I think it's doing well for us. We didn't get any feedback, so I don't know how you guys like it, but we'll see. Email the show, SCRTV@live.com. Ward, the Facebook administrator.
It would be facebook.com/Steel City Resistance. We got tons of stuff up there. We have 80.
Yeah, we
80
broke
people.
80. Broke 80. Let's get to 100. Don't be.
Yeah, we're shooting for at least 100. I'd want 1,000. Yeah. I want thousands.
Yeah.
But we'll be happy with 100. You know, tell your friends. You know, tell your family. Tell anybody that's really concerned about this country. They need to check out Steel City Resistance. And you know, even if you don't want to watch the show because you're scared of the way we look,
yeah,
I can understand that. And we definitely got the faces for radio, but check out the webpage. Check out steelcityresistance.wordpress.com, and you know, like us on Facebook.
Thank Jack for watching the whole show on the Ustream feed, and yeah, you mentioned the website. I was having a mind dump there.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, you got anything else for the program, Ward?
No, sir. I am over and out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you next week.